I was in the office at Palmerston Estates when I knew that something was wrong. Perhaps Pat was too engrossed in his work to notice, but through the walls I heard the rumbling of a car engine. When I looked up, I could see a black car winding its way up the farm track. In front of the farmhouse, the car ground to a halt. The engine died. A single figure emerged, quickly joined by 3 more men. The driver was dressed in the uniform of the Zimbabwean Air Force. He held himself at the side of the car for a second, then he turned, and his eyes fell on mine through the window. He strode toward us, and the 3 other men approached in his wake. The one closest to him, sinewy and lean, was dressed in a slick suit, and I felt certain that he belonged to the CIO, the Central Intelligence Organization, nothing less, I knew, than Mugabe's secret police. My eyes flitted between Pat, his head still buried in his work, and the advancing figures. I decided to step out of the door. In front of the farmhouse, the 4 men enveloped me in a broad semicircle. It was the driver who spoke first, his shoulders rising and falling beneath the big pads of his Air Force uniform. "We'll need to see the maps," he began. Silence lingered between us. I tried to see in the corner of my eye where the farm workers were, but all around me was stillness. Paul was somewhere on the farm, but I had no idea where. There was only me and, in the office, Pat, obliviously hunkered over his books. "Maps," I ventured. The CIO man shuffled from foot to foot, but it was the Air Force officer's eyes that remained fixed on mine. "Where," he said, "are the borders of the farm?" "It isn't my farm," I began. At this, the Air Force officer's eyes seemed to glow. "No, it is not." "We're leasing it," I interjected, knowing what that strange inflection in his voice meant. "We don't have maps." After a few chilling moments, the Air Force officer broke away and paced around the farmhouse yard, looking out over the fields. "What are you irrigating here?" My reply stuck in my throat. I knew exactly why he was asking the question. He was weighing the farm up, thinking about what might be done with Palmerston Estates once it was his. "Tomatoes," I finally breathed. "Paprika." "You do well with tomatoes and paprika." He had a withering look in his eyes, and I understood at last. I was a mouse in a trap, and he was playing with me. He began to ask more questions about our work on the farm, the extent of our irrigation system, how we rotated the crops, what our labor was like, and how much turnover we made each season. They seemed to stand closer to me now, the semicircle closing in to trap me. Unable to answer their flurry of questions, I risked a glance back over my shoulder at the farmhouse and the office inside. I didn't seem to have any other choice. As soon as I told them I would take them to Pat, they seemed to lighten. Even so, as I led them to the office, I registered the looks they shared and had the unshakable feeling that even though it was they who were following me, it was I who was walking into danger. In the office, Pat was waiting. As I pushed through the door, he acknowledged me with a mutter, a gentle exhalation of breath. I hovered there, knowing it could not last. He looked up. I have often imagined what it must have looked like to him, me standing there, dwarfed by 4 of Mugabe's men. He seemed to take it in with one sweeping look. He barely moved. I thought I could see every muscle and sinew in his body tense, up and down his arms, his face, his neck. He was opening his lips to speak when the Air Force officer pushed bodily past me. In 3 strides he had crossed the room. Trapped in his seat, Pat froze, but it was not in fear. I saw him level his hands on the desk, his fingers straining. After all these years, I knew the signs. He was trying to restrain himself. "Where," the Air Force officer barked, "are the boundaries of the farm?" Pat breathed, long and slow. "Why," he began, "would you need